Hey everyone. Um, so this is like the fourth or fifth time I've tried to record a video testimony, except for I kind of want to remain like anonymous for now, so I'm not going to show my face. But yeah, this is like the fourth or fifth time I've tried to share my testimony, make a video, and something always happens. Like I just get interrupted, or the video stops recording all of a sudden, even though I didn't touch anything or do anything, and it cuts off, and then it says my storage is full in my phone and all of this stuff. So obviously, the enemy keeps trying to stop me, but I've been praying a lot, and I've tried to handle a few things to get this whole video thing running more smoothly. So yeah, hopefully this is the last time I have to attempt to record this. This is probably going to be like half an hour long, but I believe that God wanted me to start a YouTube channel. In fact, I'm pretty sure he told me to do that a few years ago, but I just did not feel ready, and I think I had some of the same issues before as I do now, but I'm in like a better place overall in life, both physically and mentally. So I'm finally gonna do it this time. But I'm not ready to be in front of the camera yet because I'm not really an extroverted, loose, comfortable, social like person. So, but I still want to be obedient and start a YouTube channel. And I don't know what else to start with other than just testimonies because God has done a lot in my life the last 6 months. It's been pretty miraculous. So I would like to share what He's done. And specifically, I want to share how God lined up events in my life after the enemy took pretty much everything from me at the end of last year. That was 2024. How the enemy took everything from me, and then God has been restoring everything to me this year. And I finally just got my dream apartment that I've been praying for a long time. It's a 2-bedroom luxury apartment. So at the end of last year, I'm a single mom, by the way, and I have one child, and we were living with roommates at the time. It was not a good situation. One of the roommates was a warlock, and so I was constantly dealing with spiritual warfare because of all the witchcraft. And there was like too many people living in one house, and it was just very uncomfortable. And the house also had like a mold issue, and I kind of have like these underlying health conditions that make me really sensitive to mold exposure, unfortunately. Trusting and believing that God will heal me or help me solve those health issues someday, but at the time it was really, really bothering me. And so we were pretty miserable, and I was working at the time, and I ended up losing my job. Long story short, I ended up losing my job, and then I couldn't pay rent anymore. So then the roommates kicked us out onto the street, and we were homeless. And unfortunately, that wasn't the first time that had happened to us, but we were homeless, and somebody saw us, and they called the cops on us. And then the cops called DCF to supposedly come and help us, which was pretty crazy because they should have known good and well that DCF does not help with housing, which that was obviously our main issue. So DCF made me put my child in the care of somebody else, somebody who I knew was not a good fit for care for her, but they didn't believe me or listen. So she was sent away, like 3 hours away, in a different part of the state from where I live, or where we were originally at. And I was crushed and I was heartbroken, but God kept reassuring me that everything was going to be okay. And I just didn't see how that was going to happen because I have had a really, really hard life. And then ever since God started taking me through deliverance, it was just one bad thing after another happening over and over and over again. And I didn't realize at the time that I still had open doors to the enemy. So I was waging war on Satan and his demons by going through deliverance, but I hadn't closed all the doors to the enemy, but I didn't know that. So that's why really bad things kept happening to me. And so yeah, my daughter went away, and then I stayed in the location where we were. I thought that I was supposed to stay there. I didn't really know where else to go or what else to do. I had no family to turn to. My family has always been toxic and unsupportive. Well, mostly my parents, but they've kind of turned my siblings against me slowly but surely. So, yeah, I have no really helpful or supportive family that was there for me. Only one I really had was God and whoever else He brought along my path. Because every once in a while, there would be a godly connection, and I would meet somebody that would encourage me or help me a little bit. But I had nobody, like long term or reliable in my life, really. One thing that the enemy kept doing was turning people against me that God would send to help me. So that was really frustrating. I just faced a lot of rejection. So I ended up staying in that area, and then I ended up sleeping outside behind this place that was a morgue. And inside the morgue, which I had no idea about this, but there was like a tiny little room inside the morgue that was kind of like separated from the rest of the building. And every week in there was like a little church service that went on. I had no clue, but I was like homeless and I was sleeping behind this place, and I was looking forward to sleeping in that morning. I had my sleeping bag, set up and everything, and I thought nobody would be there since it was Sunday morning. I had no clue about the church or anything. And then, like, I saw people and heard people coming and, rolling into the parking lot. And I was so, scared. And I was like trying to get out of there, but I was trying to pack up my stuff and get out of there. But they saw me, and I ended up getting some connections and then getting like kind of like this live in housekeeping job because I've always been pretty good at cleaning. And so this lady that was connected with another lady from the church helped me out in that way. And everything went okay for a while, but when I met this lady, I noticed something kind of odd about her. She kind of had this like smirk out of the corner of her mouth a lot. And God had opened up my spiritual eyes to demons inside of people a few years prior. And I had a feeling it was the Jezebel spirit, but inside this lady. But nonetheless, I still felt like God sent her to help me, at least temporarily. So I was with her for a bit, and then she wanted me to sign a contract, which was honestly fine, just to have our agreement in place because there was a DCF case open, and she wanted to help me, have everything looking good and solid. And so we were going to do a contract, but the contract she typed up had some interesting conditions in it, and I very politely and respectfully tried to bring them up to her. But I think her intention was to keep me controlled and somewhat kind of like manipulated and stuck. At least that's what the enemy was planning on doing through her. So whenever I raised these questions about some of the things in the contract, this lady got really upset and offended, and she kicked me out. And so I was homeless again. And at this point, I was like, there's no reason for me to stay here at all. My, child is 3 hours away. I know God is with me wherever I go. I don't understand why this is happening, but God kept reassuring me that things are going to get better. So I went ahead and moved all the way to where my child was. And had a little bit of money from, I don't remember from what, but I had a little bit of money. And so I stayed at a Airbnb for a bit. Oh yeah, I think it may have been from no, not my last paycheck. Yeah, I don't know where I got the money from, but I had a little bit of cash, and so I stayed at an Airbnb, but then I, ran out of money there. Oh yeah, one of my friends was helping me. back in a different part of the state where I used to live in. I was really good friends with this lady who ran a type of like rescue mission. So she was kind of helping me with the housing cost for the Airbnb and stuff. But then she wasn't able to help anymore. And so then I became, like on the street again. And God had spoke to me through this one lady to like encourage me to go door to door knocking in the neighborhood to get a cleaning job. So I can make, a little bit of like quick cash. But I didn't really want to. I just didn't feel like approaching, strangers like that. I'm not comfortable doing that. And so I just did my best to survive and without housing. And I tried staying in the woods at first, but then there were coyotes and that was really scary. So then I went like into the town area and I ended up sleeping behind a dumpster, which was really horrible, of course, but God was still assuring me that things would eventually get better. And he kept nudging me to go back into that neighborhood nearby and knock on doors to get a cleaning job. And I was just like, after a week of being homeless on the street, I finally went and did it. And like the first or second house that I went to, I ended up talking to this guy who answered the door. And I just had like a little sticky note and with some, info about like cleaning and organizing services and pricing and all of that. I was trying to be professional, but obviously I was a little bit of a mess being homeless and whatnot. So yeah, this guy was nice though, and he said he would talk to his wife about it because she had said something about looking for a cleaner. And then I went to a few more houses, and then I got hot and tired, so then I went to the store to get some water and snacks. I'm trying to think of how I even got that money. Oh yeah, I had the food assistance thing, so I was able to get. I was fine with food and drink, thank God. Even if I, didn't have the food assistance, God still would have, fed me. Which I actually have. I can share another testimony in a different video about a time when my daughter and I were homeless and we couldn't use our food assistance card. And so we had to 100% rely on God to feed us. But yeah, I'll share that in another video. And I'm so sorry for the rambling and getting off track. Yeah, so I went to the store, and then the same guy who I talked to when I went to that, like the first or second house, he was at the store also, and he was kind of like behind me in the checkout line. And he saw me and he told me later on, he was thinking to himself like, hey, isn't that the same, young girl that came to my house, offer the cleaning? And I was like, he's like thinking what was going on with me and whatnot. So he came up to me, he kind of followed me to like the back of the parking lot where I went to go relax and, have my snack and my drink. And he came back there and he's like, hey, you were just at my house a bit ago, weren't you? And stuff like that. And I had hidden some of my like luggage and bags in the woods so that I wasn't dragging it door to door with me. And I had grabbed some of it when I was done knocking on doors. So he saw me, with my bags and my stuff. And he's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I really couldn't, hide my situation anymore. So I just was honest with him and I told him what happened and what I was dealing with and what I was trying to do and just trying what I could to get on my feet. And of course he asked if, I was on drugs or anything. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm a Christian, I'm a God-fearing woman. And well, I don't think I told him that part yet, but I assured him I was not on drugs and that my situation had nothing to do with drugs or alcohol or domestic violence. It was just really, really hard financial times. And because no doors were opening up for a job for me at all either, which is crazy. Like the open doors that I had kept, like the open doors that I had to the enemy was allowing the enemy to shut doors in my life so that I couldn't have any breakthrough. I needed to repent for a lot of things that were in my mind and in my heart that I was not aware of. And actually, I forgot to mention when I was at the house with the lady who wanted me to do the contract and everything, I had started doing something called the Miracle List prayers from this one Deliverance ministry. And afterwards, after like 2 or 3 weeks of doing these prayers and getting more deliverance and repenting a lot, things finally started shifting and, moving around in my favor, and doors were opening up and things like that. So that's when I met this guy, and then I told him what was going on. And then he was like, after I told him everything, he kind of thought for a second, and then he said, well, I don't know if you believe in God, but I think we met for a reason. And as soon as he said that, I knew it was a godly connection. And I was, really curious of how the Lord was going to use this guy to help me. And he gave me some gift cards that he had on hand, and I was able to use that to pay for the Airbnb and go back and take a shower and get some good rest and stuff. So that was a huge blessing. So he went home and told his wife about me and, my story and what I was going through. And she was like, oh my gosh, we have to help her somehow. And so then she made a post in the local Facebook group, and she said, and they actually had a little like video from their Ring camera of when I was at their front door knocking and asking for like, advertising cleaning, home cleaning or whatever. So they put that up in the group, and a bunch of people responded wanting to offer me jobs and a place to stay. And so that was like really amazing and miraculous. And I hadn't had a breakthrough like that in a long time. And I was really hoping that it would continue to go well. And so I didn't know what to do because I had so many choices. So I just asked the Lord to please close the wrong doors and open the right doors. And he did that. I just started investigating anything that sounded interesting. And most of the things didn't work out. Most of the doors didn't stay open or open up for me once I reached out to people. But one lady in particular had like a facility type place where she had a business providing care for elderly and disabled people, and she was looking for a live-in caregiver. And so she met up with me, and, I told her, my story and what I was dealing with, and that I needed a job and a place to live somehow. And she said, can you pass a background check and all that stuff? And I was like, yeah. And so she's like, well, I have pretty decent discernment and, I have a good feeling about you. So let's give this a try. So she let me move into one of her housing facilities and started helping out and getting trained by the other caregivers that were there. And, my boss would come by and oversee the situation, and she liked the way that I worked with the patients. And she was like, I think you're really good at this. You should pursue like the medical career, and you should start off by doing something simple like getting your home health aid certificate. And I was really unsure about it at first, but she had a lot of like faith in me, and she saw my potential, and she was so encouraging. And I hadn't had anyone like that in my life for like a really long time. And I was like doubtful of myself, and I had low self-esteem, and I was really iffy about it, but she kept encouraging me. So I signed up for the classes. Meanwhile, my daughter was still with the other person in the other person's care, and they were not very nice to her or me. This woman that was taking care of her was mean and ugly to both of us. She was very accusing to me, and I kind of felt like she saw me as like a strung out, drug addicted prostitute mother, even though I had no such thing going on in my life. And I later found out that she wasn't very nice to, my daughter either while she was there. And so I told, my boss kind of also became a friend to me. And I, told her what was going on with my daughter, because like the lady that was taking care of her, she didn't have any intention of like reuniting us. She wanted to take her from me and adopt her. So she was purposely cutting off contact between me and my child. Like, she wouldn't let me see her except for like once a month, and even just trying to plan to see her once a month was like pulling teeth with this lady. And I wasn't allowed to have like more than 5 to 10 minutes of free dialogue with my daughter over the phone. Like, this lady was extremely controlling, and she was every little thing that I did, she expressed, disapproval, and everything I said and did just bothered her. And she was constantly sending me like these long, 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 like word salad essays, like narcissistic people do. If you have experience with narcissistic people, you know that they do stuff like that. Yeah, she would just constantly bash me for every little thing that I, did that she didn't like. She wanted me to like have her updated with all of my business, my decisions, like everything. She wanted me to consult her about what I was doing, and it was really crazy. And so I finally scheduled a day to visit my daughter and meet up with this lady, and my employer volunteered to take me to go visit, my daughter at the park with these people. And while we were there, they wanted to know, like, the new doctors that I had switched my daughter over to, like local ones in the area. And I told them that since I was in the area now, that I would like to start taking her to her doctor's appointments, because I honestly didn't like trust these people, taking my child to the doctors. And they got really, really mad because, like I said, they didn't want me to be a part of her life. They wanted to cut me out so, like, they could adopt her and take her from me. So they started yelling at me and saying, like, oh, you want to be a mom now? Well, go ahead and take her then. And they were, like, making this big poop show at the park in front of my employer and in front of other people there. And they were trying to, like, videotape me and force me to stand there and say, like, that I'm taking my daughter from them so that they could, like, tattletale on me, like, through DCF and, like, all this crazy stuff. And I, was like, didn't know what to do other than, like, try and ignore their manipulation. And I actually had made friends with this Christian police officer guy, so I called him up and told him the situation, what was going on, and asked him, like, what I should do. And because I couldn't have my daughter, I didn't have a place for my daughter and I to live yet, but I also, knew deep down inside that I could not send my daughter back with these crazy people. And so my employer, when she saw all of that and I told her that I wasn't comfortable sending my daughter back with them, going back home with them, she offered for my daughter to stay with her and her daughter, because she had a daughter that was close to my daughter's age and she had nannying experience and things like that. So she assured me that, I could see my daughter all the time and that I could talk to her whenever I wanted to. She wasn't going to withhold her from me. And, I knew that this lady had a good heart. She just wanted what was best for me and my child. And she really wanted us to have constant connection and communication until I could get us her own place. So my police officer friend assured me that I couldn't get in trouble, for taking my own child back. And that even if these people tried to tattletale on me, that the cops in DCF would just laugh in their face. So yeah, God set it up in that moment for me to have my daughter out of, the care of those really manipulative, narcissistic people and put her in, better care of my friend and employer. So then that's kind of how I got my daughter back, or in a better living situation for her. And I was still doing these miracle list repentance prayers. Like every week I was trying to keep up with these prayers and remain in repentance, so that I could close the doors to the enemy and so that God could keep opening up doors for me. So, I had peace of mind about my daughter's care after that. And then I went to school and I got my home health aide certificate, which was way easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was really going to struggle with my grades. I thought I was going to get low grades because I was made to feel like I was stupid my entire life, all because I was diagnosed with a learning disability when I was a little girl. So I didn't believe in myself, but I actually did really well. Like all my scores were above a 95. And I give all glory to God for that, because I never really thought that I could do it, and God just helped me every step of the way. And so then right after the time I finished up the schooling and got my certificate, that's when my employer told me that she kind of was like running out of work for me to do for her, because sometimes she would have a lot of residents and she would need extra help, and sometimes she didn't have a lot of residents, and sometimes people would pass away or sometimes people would move out. So and she told me I'm gonna have to find some more work somewhere else. And she thought of like this friend that she used to have, that she used to work with or something like that, and she knew that she made good money caregiving at a really nice like retirement community. So she contacted this old friend of hers for me, and through her she was able to get me hooked up with a good job. And so I became a caregiver on the team for this wealthy older couple, and I work a lot of hours for them, and they pay me pretty well. Well, it's more money than I've ever made before, but for me, it's pretty good money. I now make $100,000 a year, and 6 7 months ago, I was homeless on the street and broke, and now I make $100,000 a year, and I was looking for housing close to the area where I got my new job, and it was really hard at first. I didn't qualify for a lot of the apartments that I looked into, and then one day I was on my way passing this one really nice place when I was going to look at a different apartment. And I just remember thinking when I passed the really nice place, I was like, I wish I could live here. It seems brand new, so I wouldn't have to deal with any like mold problems. And because it was often like older buildings that would give me health issues because of the hidden mold. So I, always prayed for like a brand new luxury apartment. But I thought it would be like a long time before I could ever like be in a position to afford something like that. But I just remember passing this really nice place and wishing I could afford it. And then my friend and my daughter's nanny and previous employer, she told me about some sort of housing program for caregivers in the area where I was working. And you could get like, if you jump through all these hoops and all these qualifications and things like that, you can get like a nice place for reduced rent or whatever. So I looked into that, but there was a really long waiting list. And I was going to apply for that really nice place that I liked, but there was a long waiting list. But it still felt like when I was there doing the tour for the unit, God told me like not that one or not that place about it. And so I assumed he didn't want me to live there. But later on, I realized he meant just not that unit and not through that housing program, because God has been switching me to an abundance mindset. And he's revealed to me that my days of needing all of this, financial assistance, based on the fact that I don't make enough, and it's really for people. I don't want to say this and offend anybody, because being on welfare and having all these programs and assistance has been really helpful for me and a lot of other people, back at certain times in my life. But God has been trying to move me forward from that. So basically, he's taught me and showed me that the days of scrambling to get all of this special help and assistance and jump through all these hoops just to get, a little bit of help here and there, that those days are over for me. Like, he doesn't want me having to do that anymore. So one day I was passing by this really nice apartment complex again. I was actually on my way to the hotel, because I would just stay at a hotel when I traveled for work, and then I would go visit my daughter on the weekends. And so during the week I was staying at hotels, traveling for work, and this one hotel I was staying at, I had to pass by that really nice place to get there. And one day when I was passing by, I heard the Lord tell me, apply again and try again. And at first I thought he meant through the, special housing program. And then I was like, well, there's a long waiting list and I need housing like, now, like as soon as possible, not in 6 months or a year or 2 years. And I was like, and then the Lord kind of like revealed to me that he meant without the like assistance program, just like based off of the income that I had, to go ahead and apply again and try again. And I was like, I still didn't think that I made enough, because I thought I would need, like, a lot of places like that will require you to make like 3 times the rent. And so I went to the front office and I just decided to do another tour and talk to the leasing agent. And I told him, how much I made, and I asked how much you have to make to live there. And surprisingly, I did make enough and I met the income requirements. And then I was like, well, what about like this other stuff? Because I also didn't really have any credit. I never bothered building credit because I kind of thought it was an optional thing. And I just always felt kind of weird about the credit system. So I never, had a credit score. Like, my credit score is non-existent. And so he's like, yeah, if you don't have any credit, or if you had bad credit, you can just put down extra money for a security deposit. Like, we have flexible options for that. And like all the other places that I had been looking into and we're going to apply to, had really strict requirements for credit. And then if you didn't have credit, then you needed a cosigner, which I didn't have. And then you also needed like thousands and thousands of dollars saved up into your bank account in case you like lost your job and couldn't pay rent for like 6 months. And like all of these places that had these qualifications, they weren't even as nice as this place that I was looking at, that the Lord told me to look into, that I really wanted. And so like this was 100% all God. So I really did not see any reason why I couldn't qualify for this place. And it was like brand new construction, like luxury resort style type place. And so I went ahead and applied, and because I applied within 48 hours, I qualified for 1 month of free rent. They had a deal going on for that. And so I got that. And yeah, that's how God answered my prayer, to give me the resort style luxury brand new apartment that I've been praying for. And to this day, I'm still, doing the miraculous prayers and always trying to be in repentance and asking God to, clean out my mind and my heart so that I don't have any open doors to the enemy in my life. And my daughter has now moved in with me, and she goes to work with me. And the older couple that I take care of, they enjoy having her there. They were kind of iffy about it at first, but the Lord revealed to me that he was going to give me, that his grace was going to give me favor, for this to work out, because I'm just a single mom trying my best to, provide for me and my daughter and just do everything else. I'm trying to juggle a million things, and my to-do list is so long, but, God is helping me. So yeah, that's my testimony, and sorry it's so long, but there was just so many, blessings, and one good thing that led to another good thing that God did for me. And so I just want to encourage anyone out there who is needing or wanting a housing miracle, and if the enemy is attacking you really badly, and if you're going through deliverance, like I know it's hard, and I know it's like pure hell at times, but make sure that you are in repentance always, and ask God to clean out your mind and your heart, and be obedient and do whatever he tells you to do. Like, I know it's not easy, especially if like you were like me. I ran from God for like 10 years, and I was out in the world and doing my own thing, and that's how I got pregnant with my daughter. Like, I've never been married, but before I became a Christian, I got pregnant with her, and it's been really hard. It hasn't been easy, but like God can help you get to a way better place. And he can and will answer your prayers and give you the desires of your heart if you do your very best to fully submit to him. And it's a journey, it's not going to happen overnight, unfortunately. I mean, God can change your circumstances overnight, because he's done that for me. but like overall things take time. But one thing I'm seeing is that God can catch you up to like where you want to be. So anyways, this video has been long enough. My voice is tired now. And I'll make some more video testimonies in the future. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them below in the comment section, and I will try to conversate with you guys as much as possible. So thank you so much for listening, and God bless. Bye.